Hi guys, Tyler from T.N.T. Garage today. We're going to change gears a little bit and we're going to do a little work on my 1970 pop-up. Going to clean it up a little bit, do some lights, a little bit of caulking. So seeing as we're shifting gears, go ahead first. Second, sidestep that clutch. Let's go. Alright guys, as you can see, we got a bit of stains up on here and we're going to clean them up. What I found works best on this vinyl coated stuff is a little simple green, little brush, little water. So we're going to just get her nice and wet. You know, don't try to go overboard. Just do maybe a quarter of the canvas at the time, especially seeing as we're in the sunlight. So we're just going to get up there, just get a good coat on it, and that should do it. Now, I'll probably just use the brush this round. It seems to work out pretty well. Just light pressure. Don't push too hard. You don't want to damage the canvas, but just kind of get her in there. You can see it's starting to kind of pull stuff out. So I'm going to try a little with the sponge here. And it's not quite as abrasive, but you get the picture. So I'm going to continue on this, and you guys enjoy the process for now. You with me? So I don't know how well you guys can see it, but there is a line there. I didn't scrub as hard up there, but you kind of get it, get a feel for what we're doing here. It'll definitely show up once we dry it, but you can kind of see the difference there. Now, mind you, this is a 52-year-old canvas, so we're just gonna keep working at her. Well, here's the next part we're going to attack. As you can see, there's pretty good stain in the canvas here. You know, it's supposed to be more of this color. There's stains here, real bad stain there, and I'm going to fix that today too, or on this project. But you can see that's quite a bit whiter. And I did try a product out over here. The stain was about as bad, and it kind of took it out. You can see it's still wet, so you're not seeing the final product. But wherever I set it, I will show you guys how to use it. All right, here we go. We got some mold and mildew remover, and just spray it on. Just kind of, you know, get it in to where it's gonna actually soak into the canvas here. And we'll just do a line right there. Now, you can let that soak a little bit. And I'll grab my brush if I can find it. You don't really have to scrub on it, but I'm gonna anyway, just because of the years of grease and mold and mildew and stuff that builds up on these. It's just kind of, I'm just going to lightly work it in here, just so it has a little better chance of working. No sense in scrubbing real hard, but just kind of get it in the crevices. Just kind of work it a few different directions. And there we go. that grease stain from this arm. Kind of work it in. It might take a couple applications before you really see a huge difference, depending on just how bad it is. But just work it in and kind of let it soak for a minute or two, and then we'll come back and hose it with water. Well, of course my hose ain't really long enough, but we'll just kind of get that in there. There we go. Just kind of get all the residue out. I suppose I was looking at the ground there. Wasn't paying attention, but you can kind of see where the product stopped, and it does clean it up pretty good. So we'll rinse. I'm going to let it dry a little bit, and we'll hit that again. Well, let's see if you guys could see this. There is, you see that green? How we move in, it turns back. That's all mildew coming out of the canvas. It's probably a good thing I did this. You could see it spreading out around here. So I'm going to let it soak for a little bit and then spray it off again. While I wait for this to dry, I'm going to go ahead and pull this curtain off the door and get it on the ground so I don't have to, try to do the old reach around. Typically, on these old runs, you just get the Velcro out and you can usually slide it out of its channel if it wants to work with you. There we go. Would have helped if I would have attached the door, but it is what it is. So I'm going to pick a clean area, probably over there, and get this cleaned up. Well, I finally got the rest of the canvas cleaned up. We're just waiting on it to dry now. It's still pretty wet. Some of that will pull out there, so while we're at it, what I'm doing is working on the lights. You can see some of these fixtures are fairly old and not really all that functional. Oh, yeah, there we go. But I ended up getting as many lights as Farm and Fleet had on hand, and unfortunately the local hardware store didn't have the rest that I needed. So I got ones that match the factory lights, and we're putting them in right now. As you can see, this is one of the old lenses, which I'm going to clean all these up and keep them. They're just filled with dirt. And right now I'm in the process of refurbishing the taillight housings. And as you can see, I pulled the lens off here, and she is pretty dirty. You're not going to see a whole lot through that. And this plate, as you can see, it just got filled up with water at some point. So I'm going to take the screws out. They're Jayco, and a lot of other camper manufacturers use those square-headed screws. I have a bit for that. And if you're wondering why the light bulb holder is bent over, it's because these are what's going to go inside it. I've had these for a while, and basically they're just going to hang on there. And I'm going to chop that down just a little bit so they hang dead center behind these lenses. So let's grab my bit and we will get that light out of there. Hit. There we go. See if I can do this one-handed. Damn it. There we go. use my knee. There. Now these will probably all snap, but ooh, or they won't fit at all. Yeah, stripped. Come on, get in there. Stripped. Stripped. I'm not stripping the heads out. I just I can't. They're not really waiting on anything, so I'm gonna have to find my vice grips and get that out. Yeah. Well, we got her out. Nice thing is I could get to this wiring and get rid of those Scotch connectors, and you could see probably a little bit of daylight through that plate, which is what it is. I want to clean it up anyway and reinstall it. You can see that I cleaned that side all up, and there's this nice big rust stain here. So we're gonna grab our cleaner and our brush, and we're just gonna get this cleaned up, kind of make it look a little better. Get that all the way on there and let it soak for a second before we scrub at it. And I'll show you what I did with the other plate. We got that all cleaned up, and I wanted it silver on the inside. That way the tail light doesn't look so dark. You can see I cleaned this lens up pretty good. So when you drop it on there with nice new screws, that's gonna look, it's gonna be much more visible. So we're gonna set that there for now, and we'll get the scrubbing quick. Yeah. You can see all this crap just, you'd see it's taking that rust stain right off, which is making me happy. That way, it doesn't look quite as derelict. Just kind of get all around the edge here, all that. There we go. Kind of make sure we got as much of the stain off, and we'll give her a quick rinse, and we'll move on to the light here. There we go. It looks a little better. I got a little stain right there. We'll spot clean that. All right, right now, we'll move on to the light, which is nice and grody. Now, move it somewhere here. Put it on my box of junk. And we're just gonna see if I can do this one-handed. Yeah, you get the idea. Brush it out, clean it. I'm gonna set the phone down here, and we're gonna get this clean. All right, so now we're gonna get ready to install this taillight assembly. As you can see, I've got that one on there, so we're gonna go through how I do this. Now, I made a modification to have a hole in the center, and you'll see why in a second. I also put some caulk around that to just kind of help seal everything from the body here. So let me just set you down for a second so I can feed the wiring harness through. And there we go. All right. Now, pick you back up. We're just gonna kind of wiggle the plate in, line up our holes, kinda. There we go. Got the holes lined up, and of course that caulk's gonna hold it, so I can start putting the screws in. Of course, one-handed is really fun, but if I find the hole and a top hole. Wow, for Pete's sake. And there. Now we can go ahead and run them home, hopefully. There's one. Oh, come on, you bugger. 2. 3. And come on. There. Now we got that mounted. We're going to go ahead and plug our light in. And another thing that's not real on one-handed, but maybe, oh, come on. Oh, you. There we go. Now, you can kind of see the method of my madness here is I feed these wires up. And what that's going to allow, there. Now it just hangs in by itself because it's got that little hole in right there. And then of course I'll run my ground in and just a little bit of caulk underneath to keep it from rattling around in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, run the ground screw in, and we'll get the lens on. Well, now that we're making plenty of a mess, I went ahead and decided to clean up this wheel here. This is one of the originals to the camper, and even though the tire's junk, I'll get a new tire on it, but I do want to get this spare tire cleaned up and just a light coat first. Just to make her look nicer on the back of the camper when they throw her back on the rack. Get the lip. Try not to get too much overspray on this old crappy tire, but I could always scrub that off if I need to. There we go. Let that set up for a couple of minutes and we'll come back at it with another coat. Alright, next coat. There. I think it's coating it pretty well. We're not getting any runs, but probably throw maybe one more coat on it, and then we'll see the final product. Well, now that we got the canvas as clean as we're gonna get it, I'm gonna go ahead and waterproof it again. That way we don't have any issues. So it just says 8-10 inches away, which that's about right, and then just make sure we get her all covered. Yep. Try not to trip over the spout there, but make sure it's uniformly coated. And we'll go to the top. And just get her coated all the way. Get her up in the crevice there. Make sure we get behind the lift arms. There we go. And I'll also fix that too, but just make sure we got her all coated so she'll be waterproof once again. That way we don't have water getting back into the canvas and causing another problem with all that mold and mildew that came out of it. So I'm going to continue jumping at this and get this side done anyway. Now what we're going to do is I took all the screws out of this sill plate here. Reason being is I'm going to seal each and every one of them with a little bit of clear silicone, which is right here. But first I got to clean up the old stuff that was around here, because someone used a combination of a lot of clear sealant, and they had also used like an RTV, like a silver RTV. So I'm going to get all that cleaned up, and then we will put the screws back in with a little dab of silicone in each hole so we keep her watertight. Get my white caulk out, and we will snip the end of our caulk here. There we go. Get her loaded, and just a little dab in each hole. Actually, I had to puncture this one to get anything to come out. So usually you just can squeeze them and they'll push through the membrane, but whatever. Just a little bit in each hole is all you need, and we'll go around the lift arm and actually seal it without having to pile a bunch of it on. Then we'll, of course, hit this gap here. A little in the hole. And we'll continue down the camper. Now, we'll let it set up a little bit before we smooth it. Of course, always release the pressure on your caulk gun so it don't come squirting out all the way. Now we can get back to putting them in, and I know I need to put a few longer screws up in the front. Now, the key is with these is to actually clean up the excess caulk, because whoever did it, I'm sure, had good intentions before when they caulked this whole camper, but you don't need to go overboard. Enough is enough. You just wipe it around each screw. That way, you still got a good seal, and you could just not have to have a screw head full of caulk next time to go to take it out. It's nice, clean. There we go. And then you can just use your fingertip, now that it's set up a little bit, like in this gap here. Just put a nice little bevel on it, taking the excess away so you don't have gobs and gobs of it everywhere. Because the more caulk you have doesn't mean it's going to seal better. It just means you have more caulk. You're basically just trying to fill the gap and overlap it enough to where it seals. So, and of course I'm not an expert when it comes to caulking or any of that stuff, but you know, I'm sure some sort of renovator or contractor probably tell me I'm doing everything wrong, but this is a camper, so. Well, that side's done. I'm just going to re-caulk this outlet, and I might get to this other stuff that just looks nasty, and I'll actually pick you up, kind of show you what I'm talking about with this caulk job. Obviously someone really didn't want that to leak, and I've been chipping that off. I've got a like rubber decal eraser wheel trying to take it off. They definitely put enough on that and that. And I started cleaning this one up so I could re-caulk it, but I think, oh, let's get towards the back. Yeah, here we go. You see that big caulk line? That's a whole lot of extra that's really not doing you any good. So I might get to all this in this particular project, but I really want to get the lighting done and the canvas waterproofed and a couple of repairs done. But just want to make sure all this doesn't leak either. I'm sure you're probably wondering, how am I going to repair something like that? Well, I'm glad you asked, or didn't, and I'll show you. Here, just took an old pair of blue jeans that were ripped up, took a section out of it, and the reason I'm using that is because it's flexible, it's fairly strong, and it'll make a good backer for that. So I already made the patch for over here, and then one little trouble area before it became an issue. So we're just going to take our caulk and go around the border and essentially just get all of this and then just go throughout. So we're going to do that and slide it into place. All right, we got it in place now, and you just want to pat it in, work out every wrinkle so you get a uniform coverage. Now, I'm probably going to put something behind here so I can go outside and finish the repair. You don't want to push it out too much. You just want something to push against. So, we will grab our handy dandy caulk, and this dries clear, by the way, so we got that going for us. We'll just hang that there, and then we can push it into place, and I'll just run a line there. All right, suppose I'll show you guys a light replacement here. Get one of these old grubby ones out of the way for a nice new one. So you can see I already pulled the cover off, and I'm going to switch my bit to the square drive. See if we can get these rusty old things out. Here's one. Come flying at me. There we go. That actually came out better than most. Now, all kinds of goop in the hole here. We should be able to fish the wiring out. Now what we're going to do is just snip this and get rid of this Scotch lock, which you can see also powers that light. So I'm going to take these two, and we'll get them nice and twisted, throw a butt connector on there. Now I know some of you might be saying, well, how come you're not using heat shrink? It's like, well, these are going to be inside of the camper, so why spend the money on them? Because they're not cheap, believe it or not. So just any regular old connector will do it. And you can just crimp her home. Double check so you don't lose your wires in there. And whatever I did with the new light, I'm going to go ahead and pop it out of the case. Maybe. Yeah, here we go. Take my trusty screwdriver and pop the lens off. Now, I don't know how well you guys could see this, but the difference in the lights is quite a bit. These have the old school like turn and lock bulb, and they don't work very well. The housings are all grody. And these have your typical, 904 194 bulb, my bad, and just go in the same spot. So run the wire through the body. Remember to do that first before you connect it, which I've wasted a couple butt connectors because I'm an idiot. So there we go. Get her flipped around. Make sure we got all the wire in there. Slide it up into our connector. Get into crimp mode. And there we go. She's tight. Now, I'm going to get a couple screws at the ready. And when you install this light, of course, push your wiring and stuff back in there. If you just stuck it on, well, you're not going to be watertight. So what I do is, what I'm going to do is grab our trusty caulk again and then just go ahead and just fill around the hole. And that way, the body of the light will seal against the outside of the camper. You slowly push it in there. And now we have our holes ready to go. And of course, I've got the camper hooked up to power, which in this case, you want to be extra careful when you're cutting wires. Obviously, you don't want to ground out on the body, but I'm just doing it so as I go, I know they work. So you can see that starting to light up because these ground by the screw. And it's just a little crooked. There we go. And then go ahead, grab our new lens, pop it on. Pretty simple, especially with these flush mount lights, but you want to make sure to seal them and make sure you got a good connection. So if it does come, it don't come apart inside the body of the camper, because you'll either have to disassemble on the inside and fish a wire out or try to fish it out from here. So that is that. Well, we got the lights all done finally. We'll light them up later on. What I've been doing is just cleaning up the roof here. Cleaned up the latches, get them clean. And I'm also cleaning up this trim, which was painted over. And it's supposed to be a nice kind of aluminum. You can see where it gets real grody. Someone used Flex Seal all over the roof. So I'm going to clean all that up, get that old caulk out of there, and re-caulk the seams, and just get that aluminum bright all the way across the camper. You can see here I've been working on it. So we're going to grab my tool and get after it. All right, got my Milwaukee Fuel with a little brush on it. We're just going to continue going across. go. Got her all cleaned up. And now we'll go around the edge, clean everything up, and caulk it, get it ready for paint. Well, I think it's time we could peel our masking off, which of course the paint would tear. There we go. Just kind of, now you can really see the work we did here. Getting that trim hit. There we go. So, this is why I hate tape. There we go. All right. Now, that's the way it's supposed to look. A nice, bright white, and that aluminum there. We could pull our lower tape off, probably. Oh, there we go. Get our trim off. Wow, bugger. Well, there we go. There. Get our rear tape off. Now, doesn't that look a lot better than all that white? You can see I got the front cleaned up here. And going at it with the wire wheel, and I'll show you guys just how hard I've been working on this. This is the wire wheel that I was using. That's what I had to replace it with. Little difference. Now, to make the trim look real nice, I got a wooden handled porcupine here, and you just kind of slowly working across, kind of make it uniform, because this has got a bunch of grooves in it. Now, go back through, caulk it, clean all the stuff off first, and then we can continue painting. Well, now we can focus on getting these cleaned up, and probably wondering, why don't you just take them off? Well, square head screw strips. So we got a custom little hole here, and if you bear with me, we just feed it through. There we go. And now we got a perfect little thing to square it up the best we can. And now we go ahead and shoot it. So we'll check her out. Well, here we go. Look at how nice that trim looks now. Painted spare tire, new lights. She looks pretty nice. Now, I know some of you are wondering, well, why didn't you mask the frame off while you're painting? Well, that's because I got myself a couple of cans of gloss black, and we're going to scuff and fog the frame back over, just keep it in good shape. So that's next up. Well, now we're going to move on to the frame. Got my trusty Scotch-Brite pad. We don't have to get too aggressive. This has been painted before. Just going to work around it and shoot it with a nice coat of black. better. I don't know if you guys caught this, but I made a little bit of a whoopsie there, which, let me get out of the light. Yeah, we'll just put a piece of cardboard up underneath once that dries and just shoot her white again. No big deal, nothing to fret over. Accidents happen. But this looks pretty good now. So I'm going to continue around the other side of the frame, and we'll get to the finished product pretty quick. Quite a bit of work to this 52-year-old, all original 1970 Jayco J-Eagle 8G. Hopefully you guys can see the difference and kind of give you a little incentive. If you see one of these old beasts, go ahead and save it, or at least pick it up, sell it to me, because I'll take care of it. I'd like to thank you guys very much for watching this video. This is something I'm very passionate about, is these old pop-up campers. And this isn't the end for this one. Like I said in the video describing this camper a while ago, if you guys have seen it, it will get a new canvas, and I'm gonna finish rebuilding the roof, at least the top section, which is why I didn't paint the very top, but that'll come later. And when I find this gorgeous seafoam green paint, we will be repainting the entire camper and just making it 100% factory fresh and really turn some heads with this thing. It's ready to be camped in right now. Part of the reason I put so much work into this camper is I'm going camping with my son here in a few weeks, and I just want this to look extra nice so we can be proud to display it at our local state park. So again, thank you very much for watching T.N.T. Garage. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe it, or just watch the video. You don't have to do anything. I ain't gonna twist your arm unless I see you in person. But like I said, she looks pretty good for 52 years old. Thanks again.